The invitation arrived in a cream-colored envelope with gold embossing. You are cordially invited to attend the white coat ceremony for the incoming class of Jefferson Medical School. My brother Marcus's name was printed beneath in elegant script. I held it in my shaking hands, the tremor that had become permanent after my 4th spinal surgery, and wondered if this was some kind of joke. Marcus and I hadn't spoken directly in 8 months, not since he'd told our mother that my chronic illness was convenient timing for getting out of family obligations. At 31, I was the older sibling by 4 years, but I'd always been treated like the problem child. Marcus was the golden boy, varsity athlete, summa cum laude, now medical school with a full scholarship. I was the graphic designer who worked from home because standing for more than an hour made my legs go numb from degenerative disc disease that had compressed my spinal cord. Sarah's always been fragile, my mother told relatives. She's exaggerating, my father said when I tried to explain why I couldn't attend family events. I'd survived 4 spinal fusion surgeries in 2 years. I had titanium rods from T4 to L5. But to my family I just had back pain. Marcus was worse. He'd taken to using my condition as a punchline. Sarah can't come, she's got a backache, he'd say with air quotes. My sister's a professional patient, he joked at his med school acceptance party. She's had more MRIs than I've had exams. I'd had 17 MRIs in 2 years, each one showing progression of a disease that was literally crushing my spinal cord. But to Marcus it was comedy material. The worst part, he used my medical history in his medical school application. Growing up with a chronically ill family member taught me empathy and patience, he'd written. My mother had shown it to me proudly. He detailed my struggles and his support through my health journey. He'd never visited me in the hospital. Not once. Not during any of my 4 surgeries. I'd taken Ubers to spine surgery, signed my own consent forms, and woken up alone in recovery rooms. But Marcus had written beautifully about being there for me, about learning compassion through my illness. It was complete fiction. But it got him into Jefferson Medical School with a scholarship. I almost didn't go to the ceremony. But something stubborn in me made me RSVP yes. I bought a dress that hid my back brace, practiced walking without my cane for short distances, and took enough pain medication to function. I looked normal if you didn't know what to look for. The ceremony was beautiful. Dean Patricia Martinez gave an inspiring speech about seeing patients as whole people, about the sacred trust between doctor and patient. Marcus looked proud as he accepted his white coat. My parents cried. I sat in the back alone and wondered if any of these idealistic students would turn out like my brother, using family illness as an essay topic while mocking it in private. Hold up. After the ceremony, there was a reception in the medical school's atrium. Parents mingled with faculty, students showed off their new white coats. I stayed near the walls, where I could lean discreetly when standing became too painful. Sarah. My mother waved me over to where she stood with Marcus and several of his classmates. Come meet Marcus's friends. I made my way over slowly, each step calculated to not trigger nerve pain. This is my sister Sarah, Marcus said to the group of 4 other students in their new white coats. Nice to meet you, I said, shaking hands carefully. Marcus told us about you, one of them said kindly. It's great that you could come despite your health issues. Oh, Sarah's fine, Marcus said quickly, laughing. She's just being dramatic. You know how some people are about pain. The casual cruelty took my breath away. His classmates looked uncomfortable. Marcus, I started. Seriously though, he continued, addressing his classmates like I wasn't there. My sister's convinced she's dying or something. She's had like a few back surgeries and now it's her whole personality. 4 spinal fusions, I said quietly. Not a few. 4. See what I mean? Marcus grinned. Everything's dramatic with her. It's back pain, Sarah. People deal with it all the time. One of his classmates, a woman with kind eyes, looked at me with concern. 4 spinal fusions sounds serious. It's not, Marcus said dismissively. The doctors are probably just milking the insurance. Sarah's always been a hypochondriac. I had degenerative disc disease, I said, my voice steady. My spinal cord was compressed. Without surgery, I would have been permanently paralyzed. That's what they tell you to scare you into surgery, Marcus said with the confidence of someone who'd completed exactly 0 years of medical school. It's probably not even that serious. Right, Mom? My mother looked between us, trapped. Well, the doctors did say. Doctors always exaggerate, Marcus interrupted. Sarah's fine. She just likes the attention. The attention of lying alone in hospital rooms. The attention of learning to walk again. The attention of chronic pain that never stopped. You used my medical history in your application essay, I said. You wrote about how having a chronically ill sister taught you empathy. His face flushed. That's different. You've never visited me in the hospital, I continued. Not once. Not during any of my 4 surgeries. The only time you mention my illness is to mock it or exploit it. She's just being dramatic. Marcus said loudly, drawing attention from nearby groups. This is exactly what I'm talking about. She makes everything about her medical problems. It's exhausting. I would love to not have medical problems, I said, tears burning my eyes. I would love to stand for more than an hour without pain. I would love to not have a spine full of metal. But I'm not normal, Marcus. And you using my very real, very serious medical condition as a joke. Makes me what? He stepped closer, aggressive. At least I'm not a professional victim. At least I'm doing something with my life instead of collecting disability checks and sympathy. The silence that followed was absolute. Mr. Chin. We all turned. Dean Martinez stood 3 feet away, her expression unreadable. Behind her were 2 other faculty members. Dean Martinez, Marcus stammered. I heard what you were just doing, she said coldly. And I have questions. Revelation. Dean Martinez looked at me. You're Marcus's sister? The one from his personal statement. Yes, I said quietly. The one he described as teaching him empathy through your chronic illness struggles? That would be me. She turned back to Marcus. In your application essay, you wrote extensively about supporting your sister through multiple surgeries. You described being at her bedside, helping with her recovery, learning patience and compassion through her pain. Do I have that correct? Marcus's face had gone pale. Yes, but you just told your classmates that she's being dramatic. That her 4 spinal fusion surgeries are not that serious. That she's a hypochondriac who fakes illness for attention. Dean Martinez's voice carried through the atrium. People stopped their conversations to watch. Which version is true, Mr. Chin? I can explain. Please do, she said. Because if you lied in your application about your experience with your sister's illness, that's an honor code violation. And if you didn't lie, if you truly believe what you wrote, then what you just said represents a profound lack of medical judgment and empathy. One of the faculty members stepped forward. I'm Dr. Robert Kim, Chair of Orthopedic Surgery. For spinal fusions, what was the diagnosis? Degenerative disc disease with cord compression, I said. Multiple levels. T4 through L5. His eyes widened. What were your symptoms before surgery? Progressive weakness, loss of bladder control, numbness in both legs. The stenosis was severe enough that I had about a 30% chance of avoiding permanent paralysis without intervention. And this was all documented? Dean Martinez asked. Extensively. Multiple MRIs, EMGs, surgical reports. That won't be necessary, she said, still staring at Marcus. Mr. Chin just told us that condition was not that serious and suggested the surgeries were unnecessary procedures to milk insurance. Dr. Kim looked disgusted. That's not just medically ignorant, it's dangerous. If a physician dismissed those symptoms as minor, patients would die or end up permanently paralyzed. The other faculty member introduced herself as Dr. Sarah Patel, Neurology. I'd like to see those records for educational purposes. Students need to understand what cord compression looks like, and clearly some need remedial training in taking patient concerns seriously. My office tomorrow morning, Dean Martinez said to me. I'd like to review your medical history and discuss Mr. Chen's application materials. There appears to be a significant discrepancy. You can't do this, Marcus said desperately. It's my first day. Your first day wearing a white coat, Dean Martinez said, and you've already demonstrated that you don't understand the most fundamental principle of medicine, believing your patients. You dismissed your own sister's serious, documented spinal condition as attention-seeking behavior. You mocked her disabilities in front of your classmates. And you apparently fabricated your involvement in her care for your application essay. I didn't fabricate, I was supportive. Were you? He turned to me. Miss Chin, did your brother visit you during any of your hospitalizations? No. Did he assist with your recovery? No. Did he attend any medical appointments or consultations with you? No. Dean Martinez turned back to Marcus. But you wrote that you did all those things. That's called fraud, Mr. Chin. Consider your white coat provisional until we complete an ethics review. You're suspended from all clinical activities pending investigation. Please, he said, tears in his eyes. I worked so hard to get here. You should have thought of that before lying on your application and publicly mocking your disabled sister at a professional event, she said. She looked at the other students. Let this be a lesson. Medicine is built on trust. Patients trust us to believe them, to take their pain seriously. The moment you start dismissing patient concerns as dramatic or attention-seeking, you've violated that trust. And you have no business wearing that white coat. Resolution. The ethics investigation took 3 weeks. I provided my complete medical records. MRI reports showing progressive disc degeneration and severe spinal stenosis. Surgical notes from 4 separate fusion procedures. Physical therapy records spanning 2 years. And hospital admission records showing I'd been alone for every single surgery. Marcus provided nothing. He couldn't. He'd never been there. His personal statement was dissected line by line. Every claim of bedside support, every assertion of helping with recovery, all lies. He'd fabricated a caregiving narrative to make himself look compassionate for medical school admissions. The ethics committee found him guilty of application fraud. Jefferson Medical School revoked his acceptance. His scholarship was canceled. The story went public when Dr. Kim used the case in a medical ethics conference presentation. A journalist connected the dots. Within days, news outlets were running stories. Medical student expelled after mocking disabled sister's dramatic spinal surgeries. Other medical schools where he'd been accepted rescinded their offers. Caribbean medical schools rejected him after seeing the coverage. My parents blamed me. You've destroyed your brother's life, my mother said. He made a mistake. You're his sister. You should have protected him. Where were you when I needed protection? I said. Where were you when I woke up from surgery alone? Where were you when I couldn't walk and had to relearn how? He's your brother, my mother said weakly. And I'm your daughter, I said. But you treated my medical crisis like an inconvenience. You prioritized Marcus's comfort over my health. So no, I won't protect him. I won't lie for him. If you don't fix this, my father threatened, you're not part of this family anymore. I haven't been part of this family for 2 years, I said. I just didn't realize it until now. I hung up, blocked their numbers, changed my emergency contacts to my physical therapist and Dr. Patel, who'd become an unexpected ally. Dr. Patel invited me to speak at Jefferson Medical School's orientation the following year. 200 new medical students sat in the same auditorium where Marcus had received his white coat, and I told them my story. When patients tell you they're in pain, believe them, I said, standing at the podium with my cane beside me. When they describe symptoms that sound serious, take them seriously. Because the alternative, the dismissal, the gaslighting, that can be catastrophic. I showed them my MRI images. The compressed spinal cord that had nearly paralyzed me. The titanium rods that now held my spine together. My own brother used my medical history to get into medical school, then called me dramatic when I discussed my very real disability. The dean heard him. The faculty heard him. And they made the right decision. The students were silent. Some were crying. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you this because you'll all encounter patients like me. Patients with invisible illnesses. Patients with chronic pain. And when you do, remember that we're not being dramatic. We're suffering and we're trusting you to help us. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. 6 months later, Jefferson Medical School invited me to join their patient advisory board for chronic illness curriculum development. Marcus sent one email. I hope you're happy. You ruined my life. I deleted it without responding. My spine still hurts. I still use a cane. I still have bad days. But I also have good days now, days where I advocate for other chronic illness patients, where I help medical students understand what we go through. I survived 4 spinal surgeries and medical gaslighting from my own family. I rebuilt my life without their support. And unlike Marcus, I didn't need to lie about who I was to prove I was worth something. The truth was enough. I received a letter from a medical student at Jefferson last month. She wrote about encountering a patient with chronic back pain in the ER. The attending physician wanted to dismiss her as drug-seeking. I thought of your story, she wrote. I insisted we do imaging. She had a tumor compressing her spine. We got her into surgery within hours. The attending thanked me afterward. He said I probably saved her from paralysis. She included a photo, her in her white coat smiling holding a copy of the speech I'd given. On the back she'd written, "You taught me to believe patients. Thank you for turning your pain into our education." I framed that letter. Hung it in my home office where I work between physical therapy appointments. Marcus threw away his chance to be a doctor. But that medical student? She'll save lives because she learned what he refused to, that believing patients isn't optional. It's everything. Retry.